I Thanks, Josh. I'm wanting us to think we're going to do a bit of a projection out into December, January, February, March, April, and May. We're projecting out there. And I'm calling this our Raumati projects, our summer projects. And I've just prepared some slides and some information for you. And then at the end of it, I'll actually put up the document that you're going to be working on with your coach and mentor through this. So this is the kaupapa for today. In this session, we're going to introduce our Raumati projects, designed specifically for this year's cohort of Ngā Pauami students. The Summer Inspired Initiative serves as a metaphor for growth, vitality, and leadership readiness, grounded in both Māori and Christian values. And what we're doing is we're actually executing an operational strategy framework for us as a team. Our focus will be on weaving together the operational art of defining what our kaupapa is, then designing a response to it in a way that is culturally relevant for your center of gravity, and I've talked about this before, or the environmental conditions that you find yourselves. So for some of us, it might be a youth space, some of us, it might be a community space, it might be a workspace, it could be a church area, it could be whatever area you're doing. You may be already doing an existing project that's happening, and you want to just tweak or focus on a particular segment of that, then that's fine as well. We'll explore how to bridge Indigenous wisdom, faith wisdom, and life experiences, such as our maramataka Māori, how we wānanga together, some spiritual practices, with strategic tools that help us as students become effective and adaptive as leaders in the spaces that we find ourselves. So our emphasis in this particular process that we're doing and developing is we're going to cover off these areas here. We're doing a bit of the introduction now. I'm going to set out a framework for leadership, both regards to the operational art of defining and then designing, what that could look like, and we'll explain that. I'm going to go a bit more deeper into the idea of center of gravity, identifying core strengths, and then we're going to apply it. I'm actually going to take you through an event that Joel and the previous Ngāpau did a couple of years back as an exemplar of what we're going to do. And I'll show you how we went about that as an example. And then we'll switch over to our Google's document, which is the one that you're going to be filling out to do this process. So it's got questions and so forth there. Kapai? All right. Okay. So this presentation walks us through creating a Raumati project by looking at the art of defining and designing your project in order to help transform our communities and the spaces that we're going to be involved with. So the emphasis for us will be about applying our values and identifying our values and purposes, servant leadership into our workplace or into our communities. The Raumati project is over that summer period, so it doesn't necessarily have to be over the summer holidays, but I'm looking at the summer autumn period calendar. It could be a single event, or it could be multiple events, or it could be something that you're shaping in your workspace that you actually want to pick up on and have a focus on under the coaching of your supervisor, mentor, and or coach. Ka pai? So, operational art, or the art of and the framework that we're going to be using and looking at is two key areas is defining and designing your project. Okay. So the define part is like this. From a, sorry, just jumped up one too far. This process is about bridging the vision of what you want to do and how you're going to do it. So the art of defining is the bridge between the vision and action. It means translating the big picture of what you see for your community or for your workspace of leadership goals into clear strategy. For us in the ngā po space, it helps us move from the abstract to the structured. And here's how we're going to do it. And this is the first part of the defining part that I want to set about for us. Is we need to define our end state. In other words, what does success look like culturally, spiritually, and practically for your community? So we're starting with the end. So we're defining what are we aiming for? What's our mission? What's our purpose? What is the problem that we're trying to solve? What's the issue that I've identified? And then what are we wanting to do from a defining perspective to either enhance or stop the problem? So if we're seeing some sort of injustice going on in our community that's happening, we need to define the end state of what are we going to do about that and how are we going to address that, as an example. As I said earlier, I'll be giving an example of all this later on from our example that we did a couple of years ago. Secondly, you're going to establish your courses of action or lines of effort, the thing that you're going to do to help you to achieve your mission. So in the sense of our framework, we might be thinking about courses of action or lines of effort where to make sure, let's take our wānanga as an example. We want to have a successful wānanga where people come along and feel safe to grow in their ability to kōrero, speak Māori, participate in karanga, whai kōrero, and mihi mihi. All right? The lines of effort for that might be, okay, we need to make sure we got kai for the people. So that'll be one line of effort. And as we've been doing, we've put down a menu. We're looking at the purchasing kai for that menu. We'll have sequences of when we're going to have that kai and who's going to cook the kai and so forth. That's a line of effort as an exemplar. Another line of effort is we need competent people to come in and help facilitate and coordinate the deliveries of that as another line of effort. Yep. You're going to need someone there to coordinate the whole thing. So Joel has got a line of effort for him is that he's going to be the kaitiaki and the coordinator for the whole event being his third year. So for him, he's got to tie all and weave all these things together. So he's actually enacting out what it means to be a rangatira, that weaving of the groups together and the different lines of effort in the process. A point. So firstly, we're identifying or defining what our mission is or our purpose or what we're going about. What's the problem that you want to solve? Then we're establishing lines of effort. And then thirdly, we're going to have a structure of phasing or a process of implementing the activity. And in some cases, we could think about maramataka Māori, cultural rhythms or seasonal rhythms. For us, in regards to our wānanga that's come up, we've already had a couple of meetings in regards to thinking about what we need to do for the planning process and the details of what needs to go on. But now we're going to be moving into soon the last meeting, and then we actually have to enact it. So these meetings have been we're moving from the defining the issue to where we're now designing and actually acting out the program and doing the program. So here, in regards to the operational art side of things, in regards to the thinking about what you want to do, this is where your observation skills comes in. This is where you start looking at your space that you're in around you and thinking about one of two things. Is there something that I can do that helps my community, that I can enhance it? Or is there a problem that we can solve? And then you just go through these 3 steps here. Define what you're going to do as an end state. Establish your lines of effort, how you're actually going to do it. And then phase it in. What's the sequence of the execution of that activity? Bye-bye. Patai, any questions? Okay, carry on. Now, the other side is the design. And here is the difference between the design, and sometimes we get the design and the framing mixed up, is in the defining part of your project is you're really looking at the big picture of what's going on around you. And then you're identifying your center of gravity and saying, here is where I'm going to participate. And these are the things that we're going to do. Why? Because it solves a problem here, or I can enhance something here. So like in my marakai process, I'm doing this across our 3 gardens at the moment. Because we've had a lot of rain come in, it's been very damp and it's been very hard to work actually in the garden. So I'm thinking about my environmental conditions, the seasonal influence and the weather. I'm looking at my seedlings and how they're going. And I'm thinking about the soil, what's going on there. And so from a big picture perspective, the defining part, I'm trying to orientate my thoughts, my actions, and the end state that I'm trying to achieve in order that I can get a successful garden. Yep. So I'm having to think through that. The design part is now when you go into details based on that information that you received. So the design gives us structure to our project. It's helping with defining the problem, but also designing solutions. It ensures that cultural practices are taken note and are incorporated. It ensures that the constellation of whenua, tātai hono, tinana, wairua, whānau, are all incorporated in our thinking processes. This will become clear as soon as I get to the example. So what we're doing in the design part is we're asking ourselves, what is the context that I'm now wanting to work in? In other words, what is our kaupapa? And what is the changing conditions that we're doing around us to help? What's the influences around us that we need to adapt to and adjust to whatever's happening in our space and time? Classic example, I've been out of circulation for 7, 8, well, 10 days. And so there's been a whole lot of adaptation that's needed to happen because of those environmental situations for us. In the design part, we start thinking about the integration of our wairua practices, so our faith practices with tikanga, maramataka Māori, our whānau practices and what we might be doing in our communities and whatever size that might be. So it might be the whānau, hapu and iwi aspects. So therefore then the designing part of our project starts to become a logical output, but it's also deeply rooted in community, in our worldviews, in our faith expressions. Okay? And therefore, we start to develop this map of what we're trying to achieve and move from purpose to outcome. Here's our purpose, and these are our outcomes. This is in the design phase. Now, one of the key features about the designing and the defining elements is what we call, now, can you see that there is the center of gravity? Identifying strengths. Do I need to move that, Josh? Can you see that all right? Oh, yeah. Now, your center of gravity, if I was to take a train on a train track, the purpose of the train was to take a load of vegetables from Te Tai Tokerau down to Auckland and supply our vegetables to Tai Tokerau. The train is the line of effort for delivery. The suppliers are a critical capability because I need the vegetables. The train is a requirement because I can't carry the amount of vegetables that I need to do to supply Auckland just of myself. So I'm actually needing a vehicle to do that, in this case, the train. The vulnerabilities of the train is that we could run out of coal, or you could run out of power, or you could run out of however it's fed, petrol, whatever, so forth. So there's a vulnerability there. Therefore, I can't get the vegetables down to down to Tamaki Makaurau in Auckland. So in this context, in this illustration, the center of gravity is actually the train. If I took the train away, our purpose and vision and mission would actually fail. Our end state would fail because we would not be able to achieve getting the vegetables down to the line. You understand that? So this idea of center of gravity is if you've defined your purpose, your end state, your lines of effort, and your phasing, and you're asking yourself, what is the thing that'll affect my ability to achieve it? And so there's this process of evaluation and reviewing that goes on all the time as you're going through this. And Regina, because I know a little bit of background of your scenario you're talking about, this is an example for you, is you've got competing stories going on, and there's this idea of rangatira, the kaumātua and queer space. Your main effort is to make sure, well, your end effort is to make sure everyone comes back from whatever that activity is. Yeah, that's your end state. Your center of gravity to achieve that end state is that all the people that are going to participate in that activity are qualified. And the qualifications might be the passports or the tickets or whatever it might be, but they're all qualified. So right now, in your case, if you took away that qualifying feature for them to participate, it wouldn't happen, right? So that's your, for example, on your case, that's your center of gravity. Because what you're asking yourself, these are things that you need to identify as part of what is my center of gravity for what I'm wanting to do. Is what are the critical capabilities that I'm needing? What's critical for it to happen? What are the requirements? And then the vulnerabilities and risks. By protecting and reinforcing your center of gravity, we, or you, can build resilience in your leadership and resilience in the process of making sure that it happens. Make
Thank
sense?
you, thank you. Oh no, buzzy ears, sorry, because I get it now. And if I stay at the center, knowing that those are the things, then the other things won't distract me, or I won't be taken off track because I'm staying in that center of gravity,
Yeah.
which is so even though I thought, I've got the queer, the quarrels, the blah blah, I thought that was the issue, but it's not.
No.
My center of gravity is sticking to the core
Yes.
critical capabilities. And then
Yes. So what you're now, all those other things, all that other information comes in, part of the review process for executing that activity that you're talking about, is you've got to say, whatever voice comes in, you ask yourself, is this a critical capability? Like going on to the marae, we need someone to be a speaker. Otherwise, we can't go on. We need someone to do a karanga. Otherwise, we can't enter into the marae. So that's a critical capability. We've got to make sure we've got a kai karanga and a whai kōrero. Kai kōrero. Yeah. So in your case, you've got actually, because you're sitting in the center of gravity, what you have to do is you have to ask yourself a series of questions. This information that's coming in or a request by someone else, is it a critical capability or is it a critical requirement? Because those two are different from each other. And then it sets the priority of how you engage in that and what's the response that you might give. Or is it a risk that I'm willing to take? The vulnerability space. Sometimes you're deciding things and making decisions about how we're going to execute a particular task, and we have to think about the vulnerabilities and risks and what risks are we willing to take on that particular activity. The idea being is once you know what your center of gravity is that that's when you start to build resilience as a leader. You're not getting tossed around by the issues of life that are happening around us because you know where you are, you're grounded. Your whakapapa is secure, your identity is secure, both in faith and your identity as Māori.
and in this particular scenario, I think the reflective side then would be in regards to trusting that this is what I've been called to do, because my internal dialogue was around, I don't want to upset the nan, the koro, the blah, blah, and then the voice of who do you think you are, because the responsibility's really huge
Yeah,
when you yeah, so those are the reflective, the internal dialogues and things that I've got to
yeah,
process. Thank
yeah.
you.
And to help you give you good answers to that, that's where you go back to this defining part. You're defining your end state, you're defining your purpose, what the kaupapa is. Because then you remind people of that. Our purpose is to do this. This is what we're wanting to achieve. Yeah. And in the design part, you're now going, because you're in that design part now, you're actually designing the activity itself. but you always come back to what your end state is. Yeah. So now you're just putting the architect is now moving into the design. The science behind is now the design of what you're doing, and you're letting other people. But for you, you've got to hold the center of gravity because that gives balance to people's opinions, to the flow of the waves that crash against us and whatever else comes in. Okay? Cool. So let's have a look at defining or applying the framework. It's going to be a lot easier if I actually go through it and explain it to you. It's actually quite a simple process, but I'll just explain this in a way of steps. Okay? So, firstly, you and I are in the process of creating things. God has given us the ability to create stuff. Yeah, we create in our mind, we create in our words, we create in our dreams, we create in our thoughts and our emotions towards each other. And this creative process there's actually a science behind it. You define the problem, what your end state's going to be, then you design something in response to that problem. You work out what the center of gravity is to make sure that the problem doesn't fail, and then you execute the plan. That's simply what we're trying to do. This is simply what I'm asking you to do for your summer projects. I want you to define an issue and the end state. You're then going to design a response to that issue. You're going to identify what your center of gravity is and then do it. Right? Here's an example. So, a couple of years ago, we did this event. What are you two laughing? What are you two laughing for? Man, So a couple of years ago, we ran a whakatupu rangatai wānanga here in Kaikohe, which Ngā Pou designed and delivered. We defined the problem, we designed a program, and then we delivered it. This was back in 2023, I think it was. Yeah, somewhere around there. But here's how it actually started. So in the framing part, I did these two things. In my Tuhunga Pokapā document that I wrote for pastoral care from a Māori perspective, I've got these constellations of spheres. And in the background, I'm looking at this. We've got Wairua. And the Wairua, if it was actually like a pyramid, the Wairua would be the shaft that would go down through the whole lot connected to the whenua. So effectively, it would be connected from the heavens all the way down to the whenua, this Wairua part, if it was like a pyramid going down. Then Tinana whānau and Hinengaro, and so some of you will go, oh, that looks a little bit like the Whare Tapawhā, which it is. There is a bit of that in there. It's the genesis of this idea came from that. But what I've added to it is Taurahiri Tangata and Whenua. Now, remembering that these spheres are in the background of this next page. So here's my this is why I asked you to come up with a piece of paper. Because I'm going to get you to do this, start it soon. Here's my social map. And at the start of the process, I developed a map of my backyard. The blue triangle square thing is my garage. It's the fixed building. Yeah. It's not moving. And then I've got three little bushy trees in my backyard, and one's got NZDF, the other one's got youth, and the other one's got Poa Mane and Kiri. And then I got a series of what I call my mara now, gardens that are around the place. And each area I've defined and named to give an illustration of what my environmental conditions look like. My questions was asked then in the defining stages. There's a whole lot of W questions, which you'll see they'll pop up soon. It's the what, who, why, where, why, when, what, all those types of stuff. As I said in regards to my picture, if I'm wanting to bring transformation to Kaikohe, what is the area in Kaikohe that's needed to be worked on the most? In other words, where's the greatest problem for us if there's a problem I need to solve? And so the bush that's in the middle over here, oh, can you see my arrow? Yeah, this one here was youth. This triangular space is the church. Over here was my marakai, and the coaching and mentoring I'm doing around there. Here's other mara that's in Northland, the Kiri space, the NZDF space. We've got our Papakainga garden that's going on. All of this is the environment that I find myself. Yep. After a series of questions and trying to define the issue and what I'm wanting to do, we settled on the youth and saying to ourselves, we want to see youth functioning with hope and being transformed in our community. So all of a sudden, the youth became our center of gravity. They became our main effort. All right? Which then led to our wānanga. So over a series of our planning huis, what we did, we said, okay, we're going to run an event, a wānanga, 3-day wānanga for our youth. We ended up having 25 activities within that wānanga to encourage hope, aspirations, creative side of things, connection, whanaungatanga, manaakitanga, and all these things, so that at the end of our wānanga, we would have a viable youth activity called Whakatupu Rangatahi. Who attended that? It was just you now on here, eh, Joel? Is it just you amongst us? Do you want to say anything about it? Oh, actually, there's a few of us.
Betsy and Praone with you.
Yeah.
Yes, because my nana was running it with Joel
Yeah.
and Melina.
Yes.
Yeah. There was lots of moving parts. So organizing facilitation and having all the materials that we needed.
Yep. And those, so we got the students to develop activities. So one of our lines of effort was a series of activities that we'd run on a 45 minutes window. So half an hour to do the activity and then 15 minutes to do a reflection, and they would be back to back. And then I did something cheeky right at the end.
There's banner in the works.
Yeah. So our 24th activity, we had a kai, and then we had an activity after the kai. And the point being is that those series of activities were the ones that required more sensitivity and more concentration by all the participants to see how they reacted to the pressure of having to be delicate and definitive and working as a team. And I think I remember someone popping a whole lot of balloons.
I'm
You
sure there was
remember that,
a whole-
Palori?
Yeah, got in trouble by my nana.
So what we were doing was we set up a system where at the start where we looked at their personality traits using these colors that one of the students had took us a session around. And then part of the reflection for them is saying, like, how are you responding to those activities? And then it got to right to the last one where everyone was tired and hungry, not hungry, but we just had a big feed, but tired. And then we just saw how everyone just kind of broke down in a controlled way, but in a way that helped them understand how they're wired. And the reflective part after that, particularly in the big porofita on the next day, where it's massive, big porofita reflective poroaki, and how those who were very distant were drawn in, those who had mental health issues or other particular issues were drawn in, and the ability to walk each other through our personal dynamics that were going on throughout the series of activities that we've done. That has now led to us being able to create whakatupu rangatai here. Oh, how'd that circle get in? How do I get rid of that, Josh? Huh? Hey? I'll go back. We created this whakatupu rangatai youth project, and out of that came our youth group here in Kaikui, our youth team, whakatupu rangatai. The following year, we did a follow-up where we had an Easter camp, and we're going to now run 2 Easter camps under the name of whakatupu rangatai. And the combined youth activity that we had a couple of weeks ago is an ongoing output of that particular activity. So this effectively became our summer project that we're working on. Well, it was actually a spring project that we had done a couple of years ago. But it started us firstly. Oh, what was that? Sorry. Did someone say anything on this?
Yeah, I did. I'm just asking, are we expected to create a wānanga or an event?
You won't need, unless you want to, create a wānanga, but no, you don't. And
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Will you give us examples of how it can be fleshed out?
yeah.
Okay, thanks. Sorry.
Yeah. So this series here in regards to designing and applying it. Ooh, this is what we had, as an exemplar, we had done a couple of years ago. We defined what the issue was and where the need was. We identified what the lines of effort were based on the process of thinking about connection, like whenua, the settings we find ourselves, the networks, or the taurahiri tangata space. So there are formal relationships that we invited to participate and informal relationships. So I had coaches and mentors who came in an informal capacity, who we went along with their particular youth groups or with their team that they brought and just observe what was going on. Where there are others, like the Ngā Pou team who were facilitating the activities, they became more of the formal facilitators of each activity. We thought about, in the designing of our activities, we're thinking about how does it inspire and encourage a wairua response or a tinana response or a whānau response or a henengaro response. So all these things were happening in the background as we're developing it. So there was this ongoing questioning and answering space, the W's and the H, what, where, how, when, and why types of stuff, this cycle of questions that we're asking ourselves. And it goes back to our end state of what we're trying to achieve. We're wanting to create a community and an organization of people in Kaikohe where our youth are growing and participating. A safe space for that to happen amongst our youth. Okay, what I'm going to do now, before we finish this part, is I'm going to stop this one, Josh, and I'm going to jump over to another slide to answer Ngāwaka's question. And it is, okay, I need to find it. Hang on. Any questions while I just find any?
Can we pair up or work in teams if we're in the same area?
Yeah,
Okay, copper.
yeah. Yeah, what I need to, what I don't know what I'm trying to do. What am I trying to do? We need to bring up. Need to bring up. Need to bring up. I need to bring up. Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. I need to bring up this one. Okay. Okay, whānau. Here is to answer Ngāwaka's question. Here is this document you'll get today. You'll get tomorrow sometime. You'll get it on your email or a link to it. Like your reflective journals that we do once a month, this is to do with our community project, our Raumati project. Okay. Now, Ngāwaka asked a fair question. How are we going to do this? Part of the defining the issue for you is to think about the context that you're in and what you're trying to solve or what you're trying to offer. And I'm happy, for example, I've got 3 rangatahi here who are on the course from the church. I'm happy for them to work as a team to create a summer project. That summer project could be a one-off event. I'm including you in this too, Te Amo Haere. Yep. It could be a one-off event, or it could be a series of things. So, for example, without actually stating, I don't want to step over people's creative ideas. It could be a Saturday morning young mothers event, for example, or it could be a school holiday program. They might run for a week, as an example. And so you can either do it as an individual, because some of you actually might look at this and go, actually, there's an area in my workplace I want to actually hone in on and give some thought about how do I actually provide value to my team or to the organization in a particular area. I'm happy for that to happen there. Or you just pair up like, yeah. Is that helpful? Yep, sweet. So, but this is what I'm wanting from you. And it's on this document. And I'm just going to skim through it just so you can see it and you'll see what I've been talking about in here. Okay? Raumati is a time of year to see the fruits of the work that we've been doing or sowing since Matariki and the leadership formation of Tomokana, Aotea and Whare of Ngā Pauamai. Ako are to participate in a project that puts into practice what they have learnt based on the level the ako is done. This document is to be used to record the mission, our goal or end state, vision and values, the value add of our Raumati project. There's a reflective tool, which I'll talk about soon, that you're to do with your coach, mentor, or supervisor. And I've got some dates there. You'll see that soon. And a place to record the students' transformational learnings, what you have learned. This document is to be completed following the monthly hui between your ako and the coach, submitted before the first Monday of the month. And there's some dates there. First thing I'm going to need to do is identify who your coach, mentor, or supervisor is. Whamanoiho, ne? Now, here are the series of questions that I'm going to get you to consider. This is the W questions that I was talking about earlier on. The what, when, where, types of stuff. What must be achieved? So we're in that kind of defining part of your project. What are your objectives? What are the actions, lines of effort? When and where? And what are the resources or risks? These are the, we've talked about before. Okay, so those are the series of questions that I want you to think about. And you're going to do this part with your supervisor. What level of ngā pau you're at? Who said that? Yep. And so you'll be identifying your area that you're in. But the expectation is that the level that you're at is the level of that's the amount of reflective level I want you to be at, rather than, I'm not expecting you to consider things from a strategic perspective out of the whare if you're at the tomokana. Granted, I know there are leaders already, those who will, but it's not expected that you'd function at the higher level. Because we haven't done that yet. Okay, so all that type of stuff there, that stats part is done with your supervisor, and this part here is you're going to complete before the 7th of November. Your project details. So all I've done, you're going to define it. What is your project? And then I've got your little answer box down below here. You just write it in. Right? And notice I've actually put stuff around the defining part. So here, what is the Raumati project that you want to do? In other words, what do you want to achieve? What's the end state? And so you're going to write it in here, following the conversations that you've had with your coach or mentor. Who does the project serve? This is your center of gravity. You've identified who that is. For my case, it was the youth. Another case, it might be a workplace, or it might be a community area, or whatever other organizations that you might be participating. So effectively, each slide or each block of the process, I've got the question at the top, and then you just type in your answer below. And then I've got three or four at the bottom here. From a design perspective, what are your project's objectives? What are the actions required? This is your line of effort in the design phase. When and where? What resources will you need? Center of gravity. What are the vulnerabilities or risks? This is your center of gravity stuff. Okay. And then once you're going to do it, you'll do your activity, whatever date it is, and then you do a review of the project. This is your post-activity report. If you've developed it as a team, you'll review it together as a team. And what I would expect that if you're going to have a team of people doing something, you'd identify what you're going to do. You then may assign a particular line of effort or an activity to each of those team members and it's their responsibilities to plan out that part. So, for example, let's say, for example, you've got Palone, Joshua, Betsy, and Tamo Heidi. So we've got four members up here. They're going to run an event. So they would have at least 4 lines of effort or activities that each one of them would be responsible for, and that would contribute to the whole of that event or that activity. And I know they can actually do that because they're starting to do that already with the youth, existing youth, as it is at the moment. So I'm already seeing them doing this stuff. Okay. So the review part is a team, and then review is with your coach or mentor. That becomes the context or the content for your post-activity report, which will then be a presentation that you'll do as a team back to us. Back to the students. We've got a presentation next year. Where's the slides? Where's that one? We've got a series of dates where you're doing some presentations, and this is what you're going to reflect on. Similar to like the e-portfolios last year, Te Amo Haere and Joel. Your post-activity report or your report on your activity will be the feedback to us in regards to what you learned. And that feedback is about your learnings at the level that you're at and below. So for Joel, for example, he's sitting in the whare space. The report will be a feedback about, it's not so much about actually the event per se, although that's important. It's actually about what his learnings were about his own leadership style and the lessons that he learned from conducting that event. And so he would give reflections on both whare, ātia, and tomokana, whereas the expectations for our first years here, it'll be just around the tomokana. Although if they can and they feel confident do the others do, that's fine. But it's not expected to on that front. So this is the document we're going to use to help you through the process of identifying what your summer project is. You could do it as an individual. It can be a one-off event, or it could be a series of events. It can be done as a team. It's up to you. The key part is to identify your coach or mentor that you want to work with around this. So ideally, you want to find someone who's done it or been involved in what you're thinking about. So it's not a completely foreign take to both yourself and to the person that you're coaching and mentoring with. So for example, here in Kaikwe, for this project here, Caleb will be the coach and mentor for the 4 of them. Because he's familiar with what we're trying to do here. But the 4 of them will actually define the issue, design the project, execute the project, and then report back on it. Okay? All right? Pātai? Yeah, pātai? Yep. Yeah. We'll do that, Margaret. Send that through. We're running out of time tonight, but what I would like you to do as the starting point is do a social map of the context that you're thinking of. Just draw a picture or a mind map or a star system or a wheke. Because there could be other relationships that are impacted by what you're thinking of doing. So we start off with want to draw. So what I'm going to do is give you a week as your homework tonight, is you're going to draw a social map of the environment that you find yourselves. Because out of that environment, in the context that you might be in, we're going to define a center of gravity for you. And then you can design your project. So that's the thing I want you to do tonight. So down here, in conclusion, we are going to use a map or a mind map, word maps, wheke, constellations, whatever suits your kind of context, and develop the first stage of what you're thinking of, what's the environment that you're going to be involved with. And here's the kind of the sequence that we're going to work through. Start by developing a map. Then what you're going to do is you're going to you start your documentation. You're going to define what you need to do using the W questions. And if you have a look at, I'll send this through to you. This is the document I showed you before. If you take that, these W questions are inside this document over here. Okay. Then we're going to design. Keep asking probing questions about your map with your coach and mentor. The defining part as to what your end state's going to be, what's your purpose, what's your mission. You're always asking questions, reviewing it all the time. Reviewing and defining the problem to design a solution. Design key steps to implement. These are our lines of effort. Then you identify your core strengths, critical capabilities. What was that one? I've forgotten just for a sec. I'll just jump up. Vulnerabilities and risks. And what was that last one? Sorry. Critical requirements. Yeah. Then you act. Have your final planning hui. Conduct the project or activity. Review the project. Complete the report and present it to the class. So we're at this creative stage at the moment, down here in the mapping part. So where we're at now. Now to cut that even simpler down, work together as a team, couples, or in your workplace. Define an issue that you want to work on and add value in a positive way, not a negative way. Then you design what you're going to do, and then you do it, and then reflect back on it. Goodbye. Pārtai. We'll spend the next 10 minutes seeing questions, points of clarification. So you're going to find, as we get on through the year, we're going to meet less and less. You'll start seeing the dates where you actually meet with me once a month, and then you meet with your mentor and coach the other side. So you'll meet up with your mentor and coach probably twice a month and me once a month. Because we're actually going to start moving out of the germinating and thinking about and planning and preparing and reflecting into the execution of doing your project. And the sequence of actually working into summer, we were actually doing something together. or as a takiwā. So you could have Wellington doing something, Auckland doing something, and Northland doing something as another example. I'm happy for that to work out, as long as we've got defined lines of effort or activities that each person is doing, so they can demonstrate their leadership style and giftings and talents and reflect on that process.
Patoi.
Yeah.
So the timeline is the initial plan is developed by, is it December the 1st?
So you will need to have the first part of the documentation done by the 7th of November.
November. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got a project that we've sort of already started.
Yep.
But we'd like to put this framework over it. Is that right? And so we might be a bit ahead of that timeline.
That's fine. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Kia ora.
Yep. But I still want you to think about the steps as you go through it.
Yep.
Because they're very defined steps and they're there for a purpose. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'd go back retrospectively because we've done some of that initial work. So just document it. So
yep. Yep. Yep.
Kia ora.
That's great. Yep. I'm happy for that, because what I'm trying to do is give you a framework of how you might actually start a project and work through it and report back. And also, and more importantly, in regards to the Ngā Pou framework, that you're using the tomokana āte and whare as a reflective tool in how you actually execute that. What are the things that go on? I forgot to mention down in the design part, a crucial element to that is building your team, which we talked about the other 2 weeks ago about the team building space. That's a crucial part of it. You'll find that through all this process is actually about relationships and the effectiveness of your relationships that you're doing. Yep. Thanks, Greg. Yep. I'm happy for that. Yep.
Hi.
Hi.
Does your team have to be part of the MPA, or can it be because somebody that's around us?
Yep. So if I go back up to the design phase.
Yeah,
up here. I'll go back over one more. So part of your design phase is once you've defined what you're doing and what the purpose is, what you're trying to achieve, you're basically reverse engineering, you're coming back. And in the design part there, you're identifying your center of gravity. And parts of that center of gravity is you're going to be asking yourselves these questions. These why these questions are rhetorical. What are the critical capabilities? What are the critical requirements? And what are our vulnerabilities? So sometimes, and this is why I'm glad you asked this question, is that you're going to need to employ and win over others to participate in what you're doing in order to actually give effect to your kaupapa. Yep. Sweet. Yep. Hence why the design part around building teams is important. Is because you may actually, like for us on our papa kāinga with our marakai over there, our papa kāinga marakai, I've had to employ the Ahu Whenua Trust to partner with me, and otherwise I wouldn't be able to do it.
So. Just following on what Danielle just asked was a really good question. I find myself in an apartment, 12 apartments, mostly single men, separated, divorced, or transitional housing. So I probably want to work with, my assumption is, without doing any research, work with the locals here as they are, because my concern would be having holy huddles and, not really working with the reality of the people that we've got around us. And I'm just thinking about Danielle because in Waimahana, it's the whānau. And sometimes it's relational, sometimes it's geographical, but you can't really be picky in some ways. It's just where the gravity has landed you.
Yeah.
So I was he whakaaro iho, but
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
okay.
So what I'm not wanting you to do is just to create a get together. That's not what I'm wanting you to do. I'm
Oh,
wanting you to go through a process of problem solving. Again, this comes back to our creative space that I believe God's given us. It's easy to sit on a couch and watch the All Blacks play. It's another thing to think you're an All Black and get on the field and play. You understand what I'm saying there? Like our brothers up here, he's training for a fight. It's easy for me to sit in the arena while they're in the cage and I'm saying all my stuff about how they should fighting. He should punch like this. He should twist from the hips and twist the knee and all these types of stuff when I'm not actually in the ring. The purpose of this here is one element of what I'm trying to do with the Ngā Pou place is give us the skills as leaders to go out to any community we find ourselves, go through this planning process and consider what could God be doing that he wants to enhance the mana, the mauri, and the wairua of our communities. What could we do to actually bring transformation to our town? That's why our Whakatupu Rangatahi project is a long-term project, because we're wanting to walk with our youth, and I love our youth. Our family loves our youth, and because I see hope, I see future, I see awesome things that they're going to be doing way beyond my ages and years. And I hope and will leave an impact for them to bring transformation to the generations that they'll speak to. So this is just a tool of many, one of many, to help us. First, we need to map out our environment so we get to understand what's going on. And that part of that mapping process is to find the gap. And the gap may be defined by a problem, or it might be defined by actually no one's providing anything in that area, as an example. Yeah.
sorry to be hoha. Does it necessarily have to be a problem?
No.
Can it be an opportunity?
Yep.
No,
Yep.
I'm not critical. I'm just saying so often Christians are marked out by what's wrong, bro, and always providing a solution. But sometimes I try to look at it like, what's the opportunity? What could happen that's not happening, or how could we assist? Or another way you said is, look around your circles and your environment to see what God is doing, so you're not reinventing the wheel.
Yep.
Or trying to present them the work of God that the Lord's not even doing in that space. You're kind of like trying to force your perspective, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I'm asking, because I'm like, what if the project's about, I'm just being creative here and divergent. What if it's joining non-believers in what they're doing that aligns to the values of the kingdom?
Yep. So you'll still have to do the defining and then the designing part. Yep. So
Cool. Thank you.
because when you come to do your presentation, you'll actually, as we're all going through this, we'll be going, here's my map, what I identified in the environment that I find myself. In other words, here's the rako, the kauri, the tōtara, purere, te mea. Here's my definition of what's going on from what I see. Because when you start designing and activating, sometimes your definition changes because new things come to light. So that's why the circle of reflective happens all the time. This rhetorical questions are always coming up, that the W's and the H's always would come back, because as you're doing stuff, things change and you have to adapt depending on what goes on. Then you do whatever it's going to be. Hence why I haven't just prescribed what those things are. And hence why I haven't said it's just in the church either, or faith. I haven't said anything about any of that. You guys have brought that up, not me. What I'm trying to do is get you to think and develop your leadership skills. That doesn't matter what context that God puts you in, you're going to be able to function in a way where you might be asked, we want to do this. Can you please run that? Like what's going on at Faith, there are a couple of things happening there. It's like, man, any one of you could go, right, take somebody and say, can you guys run this project? You've now got a process to do that. Yeah, sweet. Got a big smile there, auntie.
It's exciting.
Yeah, it is.
I got a lot out of this.
Here's a possibility. And this is first in, first out. We have got a wānanga next May. It's our last one for this Māori calendar year. We've got the dates for it already set. We've got the timeline set. If there's a group of you that actually want to use that wānanga for a particular activity, it's normally our Ringaropa wānanga. It's the one where we do a lot of practical. We think about applying faith in community. So we often get folk come in and share around, like we've had Faith Family Share or Papatunu Kōkiri Marae. We gone and visited them. So we actually have a date next May that if there's a group of you that are thinking we actually would like to put something on as a wānanga, then I'm happy for us to consider that as well. I haven't yet kind of defined what that wānanga is going to be yet, but if you want to use that as your summer project, then I'm happy for that to happen too. Just throwing that out there.
Are you offering that to us to consider or to say, yep, I'm keen?
That's because you don't have to do anything until the 7th of November. Yep. And you'll see, so talk with your coach mentor about what problem or what issue or what your end state's going to be that you want to solve or add to, or the value add by the 7th of November. Review. Oh, yeah. Review. This is part of your reflective practices. You're doing it anyway. So the 1st, 9th, 2nd, and the 6th, 1, 2, 3, 4, are the reviews that you do with your coach and mentor. So you're going to be doing that anyway. So I've amalgamated those together. And then your final report, which is the post-activity report, is due on the 6th of April. Now, if it's the May wānanga, then obviously that'll have to drop till after May because you're not going to be doing it until that May component anyway. In the defining part.
Oh yeah, like the pencil book that.
Hey, really?
Can I pencil book it? Kia ora.
Okay.
That's what I asked first. So I guess I'm in first. I'm older. I've got a Kauai. I'm in Wellington.
No, pono. I thought you were inquiring, Regina. No, it's all yours. All good.
I was, yeah. So is that us now? Okay, you and I.
Hey, tawa. Yeah. Sounds good.
All good.
Yep, that's cool. Okay. And so what I'd encourage you guys to do as part of that mapping process, because you'll have existing relationships and you'll have other relationships that are not quite there yet. And so what I mean by that is that in the center of gravity space where you're thinking about the environmental conditions, and in the Taurahire Tangata idea of our Tūhoranga Pokapā constellation, is you've got all these relationships that are around you. And like right now, we're stepping into a possibility of doing something in May. Already there's some relationships that are starting to form. No idea what you're going to do yet, or some of you might actually have an idea in your head. But at the moment, there's these relationships that are starting to draw strong lines and others that we don't know yet. And so you think about current relationships and future relationships. And either they're critical or not. And you're just going through that process of working through that and what that means for you. So can I encourage, if there is a group of you that want to use that wānanga as something, so the framing of it will still be the same. It's this, what is it? Taurahire, Ringaropa concept. It's about the application of something. And as we've talked about before, yeah. So talk together. We've got to the 7th of November to talk it through, which may mean that you might define a particular coach or mentor for that particular project. And then they could be the overarching coach or mentor for 2 or 3 of you on that space, like Caleb is for the youth here in Te Amohai. Yep. Ka pai. Awesome. Okay. Whew. Feeling a bit tired now. Let's go around the can I encourage you, whānau? Don't be overwhelmed by what you've heard. It's all there. And we're here together to share. And sometimes things are caught when you're actually doing something and participating more than what we've just like sitting here and listening. That's why the wānangas are important for us, because we can get together and actually start practicing stuff and doing stuff. We normally actually have three of our own. We have the karanga whaikōrero wānanga. We have a wānanga that's focused in church space, and then one is our ringaropa. But the one that's been added into us this year was the Huia Māori. So we can relook at things next year around how we shape up our expectations of that. But yeah, that's our summer project. Okay. I'm excited. Let your creative juices. So I think even before the mapping, I probably should have did praying. Pray about sensing what God wants you to do or participate in the community you find yourselves, and what that could look like. Yeah, it's amazing if you let yourself just be open to what He's going to do. And yeah. All right. That's enough for me. Just some housekeeping for next week. So we're doing our final painting hui for our hui next our wānanga next week. So we'll be running through that, and Joel will be chairing that next week. Greg and Leonie will be doing the welcoming and so forth side of things. In the final planning hui, we'll just be working through confirming all the catering. We've got 21 registered at the moment, and there's a few of you that haven't registered yet. But we've got 21. We've got a youth group of 12 coming, and a few other. Sean's just confirmed. Whai Mate's confirmed. Manaki Nui's confirmed, and we got a few other folk around here confirmed. We will not be meeting on the Monday, the 22nd, and we won't meet on Monday, the 29th, which means that's the school holidays. So next week is our final class time Zoom together. Unless you want to meet yourselves, then we can open up the Zoom time. So we'll have our final planning hui next week. The following week we'll have our wānanga. And then you've got another break, the 29th. And then we're back on the 6th of October to do our last activity regards to the planning of the hui, which will be our post-activity. So we've talked about a post-activity report in our take tonight. So we're actually going to go through one on the 6th, just to demonstrate what that could look like for you. Kapai? So what I'll do too is I'll send out the slides for tonight, notes that I was using, just so you have it, and you can have a read through it, just quiz through it yourselves. Yeah, I've talked a little bit about the leadership, the RTS stuff. I included a bit of it in tonight when we talked about the Cody or the Tōtara, sorry, based on the Te Puni Kōkiri report a couple of years back. But yeah. Josh, you got anything you want to ask or questions? Good. Betsy? Betsy. Page it on to Betsy. Do we still have connection there? Paroni? Good. All right. Tamo haere. Ka pai.
Ka pai. Really good stuff tonight. Yeah, got a lot of thinking to do and planning, but yeah, willing to give it a shot.
Yeah, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. You've done 6 of these already.
Yeah, mate.
Kia ora. Kia ora, Danielle.
Ai, kia ora.
Ka pai. Ka pai. Ngā waka.
I didn't mention this at the beginning, but I want to do it now because it's on my mind. Thanks for being a good role model to us, bro. And thanks for those 1-to-1 half-hour catch-ups.
Yeah.
That was a turning point personally for me, and I think many of us got a lot of value out of that. So I'm just yeah, thankful. This seems really like thought-provoking, but actually I'm going to go with my heart on this because I'd rather do a heart project than a head project. Kia ora.
Yep. Nice. Yeah. Thanks too, everyone, because maybe it was that what caused my heart issues. No. That was a real busy week that week. We had Cape Ray here, did all those half an hour interviews, trying to load it. There's still a couple that haven't met with me. So please do touch base with me and find a time that we can ring up and just have a talk. It's only for half an hour, just to see how you're going, tracking along. So yeah, those who know that who are, please let us know. Yeah, thanks. Regina.
I was just trying to find a word. That's why I had the paper on my head. I know this stuff from a work context, from within an organization structure. And so it's trying to shift into this space that we're in at the moment. And it's a bit of a it's like when I become a Christian, church 20 years, and then I had to decolonize but still remain faithful to the word and being Jesus and everything else.
Yep.
And now I'm in the same space, but it's from going from organization, business stuff, and then having to unpick that to fit into this space. It's like, oh my God, I just sort of done all this, anyway, but I love it. Thank you, Amene.
Yeah, nice. Joanne, been nice talking to a Tuanui.
I don't know what the hell I'm doing. All I've got is swear words in my head at the moment. On, I, like I love what you're talking about. But it's like I don't know how I can fit it in, like with my job in the community. Because I'm not actually, I've been working. I work most of the time.
Yep.
And so I'm actually not in the community. I've spoken to you about, like just the things that happen at work in regards to, like how they, like how we're sort of as Māori, just like tokenism.
Yeah.
But then it's hard for me to be able to find something to be able to use at work because because most of us all start at different times.
Yeah.
So to be able to get a group from work would be hard. And, depending on the times that we start in that. So I think I'm finding it more difficult to think about a situation that I can use it in, I suppose. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Now, you're talking in the design phase. You haven't done the defining or the mapping yet.
Yeah, but what am I supposed to be mapping?
Sounds like you need to map your workplace.
Can I jump in?
Who's that? Yes.
It's the baby sister.
Yeah.
She actually is doing. You are actually doing this stuff, sis. You actually live it, breathe it. But I think it's the struggle probably at the moment is seeing how to, like I just talked about myself. I've been doing all the organizational stuff for so many years, and then I'm having to shift into this space. But you are living, breathing to our Māori, and it's trying to shift it into that practice of where you are.
Yeah.
That's the struggle in your mind because you've come from social service sector where we were working. You're always doing all of this sort of stuff, and now you're in a government department. And it's trying to.
Sorry, would it be like how when I was speaking to you, DY, and about the scenario that happened with one of my calls and how oh yeah, I get it now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you,
Yeah.
both of you.
So you could actually use this process to help define what your center of gravity is and therefore what your critical capabilities are and also your vulnerabilities. And that actually might be the thing that you design something to help your own well-being based on what you've talked to me about.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, I get it now. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you,
that's
sis.
fine. And that's why we're all different. And the mapping's important because that sets our context, that's our environment. We've got to draw something on what our environment is.
I think because I have a different way of learning.
Yep.
And sometimes it's like, oh, I don't get it unless someone actually, gives me the example, like how Regina just gave.
Yep. Beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. Yep. So, sorry, put your hand up there.
Hey, Joanne, I'm having the same difficulty, but what Joel mentioned to me was that it might be just the language that that Riwa uses. Like you'd know how to plan the project, but it's just the language like mapping. You might use another a word like planning or something. It's you know what I mean?
Yeah, true,
Just
true.
it's just the language that it's like so the way we're gonna do it is we're gonna use I'm having a brain fart right now because it's very late and I got a prayer meeting at 6 a.m. and I've been up all day.
Something we're already kind of doing or
Yeah.
have done in this community. I
Yeah.
think using the framework and going through the process of defining, we're probably going to get a more, I don't know, I think a more, what would you call it? Robust project. I think it'll be, I think it's going to be pretty exciting and it'll be interesting to see what kind of feedback we get from our community. If we try this using this whole defining first before our designing and getting into more specifics.
Yeah.
And it's a good I like the framework. It's just that like the words that I would use would be different, and probably same with you, Joe, and the words that to describe it would be different. And it's just making it make
So
sense.
the map is not the plan.
Yeah.
The map is the picture.
Yeah.
You need to have something visual about the environment that you're trying to find a solution to.
Yeah.
So you can see so you actually can see what the reality is around you. Yeah, and then you start defining, okay, that's why the mapping's right at the start.
Yeah. And Joel mentioned that our center of gravity would be the community.
Yeah, we've got an active community. It's quite an active community with a park with all sorts of exercise stuff already in it. So that's kind of a center of gravity, considering that everybody in the house has got backgrounds of fitness or some type of physical education.
Okay, just on that information, I don't think your community is your center of gravity.
Oh, okay.
No, brilliant.
Just on that information then. Because if you took something away from that part, you wouldn't be able to execute it. As an example. So that's why the mapping's important, because you need to see the full picture. Yeah. And then you just work through defining what's actually you're trying to achieve. That's good. Awesome.
Can I add too?
Yep. No one.
Sorry, you just want to add. It did pass through my mind right at the beginning, Dale, is there's a high level of reo Pākehā being used, written and spoken, because you're so articulate, bro, and you're really intelligent. But sometimes I get lost, and I'm an English teacher, and I like language. Sometimes I get lost in the writing and the speaking, and ta-da, there's a PowerPoint, and ta-da, there's the new concept. I'm a dialogic thinker, but that means I have to bounce off people, hear them, see them, feel the vibe in a circle. And sometimes Zoom doesn't allow for that. And sometimes I walk away from these things and something will come to me later, not now.
Yep.
Sometimes this is overwhelming and I just stare at the ceiling going, how the heck? So yeah, I just want to acknowledge the struggle we might all be having to try to figure out how to catch this wave. How are we going to surf this wave? How are we going to stand up and how are we going to go with the flow of the way? While at the same time, I love, bro, that you've gone through this yourself and you're giving us little mini po to help us sharpen, I guess, the swords or sharpen the taiaha, sharpen what we have experienced or carry. But yeah, sometimes I'm just feeding back. I get lost in the language and the picture and the PowerPoint. They're all cool, but sometimes I'm just sitting there going, what does that mean? I have more questions than answers. But it's not a criticism, it's just feedback.
Yep. And that's why I said individually as well that the process is not a 9-week block thing. It's a whole year. It's a 3-year journey that we're journeying together. Because I can tell you right now, Joel will see something different than say Caleb does, Joshua does. And as we talk and share and wānanga together and our wānangas and all that, things will start to open.
You forgot to say Joel will drive some people crazy, but he's lucky he's loved.
Yeah. Yeah, so what this part here, what we've done today is actually in the whare part of the process. It's our strategic capabilities to figure out what resources we need for our operational and tactical space. Yeah, we need to get this stuff sorted and work through it because it's used everywhere. It's a global thing, framework that's used. Yeah. Margaret.
I got a lot out of tonight. There's a lot of things that I've done over a period of time, and projects that I have done, not only in the community, but also within the church structure itself. And but for me, it's just going to be a simple thing. I'm just going to start from the map.
Yeah.
And then work my way through that. I don't want to clutter my mind with a whole lot of stuff that I could do or may do. I just need to start from the beginning and start mapping what I want to do. So there's a couple of projects that I do want to complete soon. So November. When is the final? When is it? November? Is it?
That's when the first proposal starts coming through on what you're proposing to do.
Yeah. So
But
that's So
that's the 7th of May, 7th of November. Yeah.
November, which is a good time for me to reflect and to see where I actually want to go and how I'm going to do that. So the mapping is the most important thing for me.
Yeah.
So but I'm excited about it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Greg and Leonie, last. Have I done anyone? Yep.
Yeah, so I appreciate the framework actually. Just new language, I think, echoing what other people have said. We've all done projects. I like that this framework actually gives an opportunity to sharpen how we do stuff and be a bit more reflective about what we're doing. So I like that. Yeah, and it's not extra work. It's actually, well, the extra work is in the reflection, I think, but it's not. Doesn't the project still was going to go ahead regardless? And I think for a lot of us, it's like, there's something that we're working on anyway. So it's but it's actually having a framework to do a bit of reflection on what we're doing and how we're doing it. So I appreciate that. I think some of the language, I'm center of gravity. I'm thinking, what is that? Because I don't actually know, but I'm pretty sure that if I have a good look at it, I'll find the words that I use to describe that, the center of gravity. So, it's that. It's just getting used to that new language, but also, the opportunity to have a good framework to do a bit of reflective planning, I guess. Having a look at framing up a project in a bit more detailed way, rather than just doing things intuitively, because they make sense. But I think it'll identify gaps.
And I like the other lens of maramataka around the project, because usually, we do projects all the time, but we certainly don't. Well, I certainly haven't intentionally included a maramataka lens over things, and how that environmental lens makes any difference to planning or people or how I'm feeling, or so I think that's another beautiful overview. So kia ora.
And you've got things like tomorrow's Rako Nui. The first part of next week are all the tangaroa phases, and so those are really good for harvesting and planting and getting fish and it's a real high energy spaces where other ones are low. So it's just thinking about how the thing that God has made us and who we are and our identity and our whakapapa, how does that contribute to find balance? Maybe center of gravity, Greg, is balance.
Right. Just as Leonie was talking, it reminded me of something I was listening to today. It was about a medical practitioner. She's a woman who does whole of person health. And one of the things she talked about, and this lines up with Maramataka, is about women and their cycle. So how much, your cycles, your monthly cycles, you go through different phases of that, and to be aware of those, where you are and your in the rhythm of your body, because it actually impacts on your whole emotions and a whole lot of things. But
It can impact on the males too.
Yes, yes,
well,
we know
right.
that. Yeah.
But just being aware of that and your and your planning as well. It's like
Don't plan strategic major things if you're near that grumpy phase.
But all
or
you need is some little snacks, and you just throw them at them, and you got a phase.
That's what that woman was talking about. She was actually saying nurture your body when it needs to be nurtured. So and that's having the right kai sort of prepared, eh? Not the rubbish stuff, but the good stuff.
Not just women, just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. That's very good. Yeah. Contextualizing is important, eh? So we have to do that with scripture. Did you know that the gospel went to Ethiopia before it went to Europe? Whereas the way the narrative is, and the prevailing narrative, is that it went to Europe first.
I thought it went to Ethiopia after Philip.
Yeah.
Transformed by the dude in the carriage.
No, transformed by God to the dude in the carriage.
I know, hang on, not transformed. He went from one place to another, and
he was moved by the Holy Spirit. Yeah.
Teleport that he was.
Yeah, that's
it.
Yeah. Yeah, so this whole thinking around, we need to contextualize all the stuff we're doing. This is it's actually what we're doing. We're just trying to find tools and frameworks to contextualize our faith into the communities that we serve. Some of us are good with the reo, and it comes natural. Others, we're growing and learning. Others like the garden. Others like being on the land, and that's part of this exploration of what that looks like and where we're growing in it. Others are in government departments and all that type of stuff, and we have to work through all their stuff and policies and procedures and blah blah blah. But you're all leaders and growing in the skills of that. Even our young ones, Paraone at Ngāwhā Prison, Betsy with the youth and her job, and Josh. We're all growing in different ways and what that looks like. So hopefully, particularly this year, coming out of Kerry, have to rethink a whole lot of stuff, and it's about giving you tools. And as we join together and share together in wānanga like this, other tools become available that we can share with each other. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Really appreciate it. I'm exhausted. Yeah, it's been funny. But thanks. Really good seeing you. And we'll see you next week. And then we'll see you all in person the following week, 26th. Ka pai. Nā wai whakakapi ai te hui huinga a tātou.
Māku.
Ka pai.
Me nui tātou e pāto mātou matua nui te rangi ko tā mai mātou i runga i tō tōrana tapu hei whakamoemiti atu rā ki a koe mō tō aroha noa ka puta mai i wangenui i tēnei wāhanga. I runga rā i te mana me te mauri o tō tātou kai whakaora hihu karaiti. Father, we give you thanks and praise for all the stories and all the learning and all the challenges experienced tonight. We again celebrate Rewai getting better, being aware of his circumstances with his health. We pray full rejuvenation to his body as he recovers. And to our sister Laura as well, with the pneumonia in the hospital and the dynamics around that. We're mindful of her. And to us now, the widow of the project tonight, we call on you, Holy Spirit, to open our eyes and ears to your spirit where you're at work, that we might join you, that your transformation power is everlasting, and it's totally a reformation of person, place, and gravity, and circles, and maps, and all of it. The mea nui, the mea pai. And yeah, we celebrate, Father, the struggle too, where we want to drop out sometimes and feel like giving up. But you encourage us, son and daughter, let's get up, let's keep going. Haere tō tika mai ki te taha o te atuan ariki nui. Yes, for our night tonight, we ask for divine rest upon our bodies and our minds, that we would be leading with our hearts and with the mana modi you've given us. I thank you for each brother and sister here in the Ruma tonight. May we all go in peace, be at rest, for Jesus has done it all. And we get to live out that story. Nō reira e pā ka tukuna mai te whakawhita me te kororia mo ake ake tonu atu. Āmeni.
Amen. Awesome. Thank you, brother. Margaret,
Amane.
does your email have a gap between the A and at?
No, it's all one.
Or one. Okay, ka pai.
Mm.
Bless you all.
You
Ka
too.
kite.
Have a great week.
Me koe hoki.